I am here to tell you, for all the people that not and don't believe Sophie Cunningham is riding for Caitlin Clark, I'm going to tell you that's just now true. Now, last week we heard Sophie Cunningham spill the beans about it all, man. Oh, yes, we're only running one style of defense. Oh, and did I forget to mention we had a 2-hour meeting as well? Now, I can't tell you what the meeting was about, but just know we had one. Now, when Kelsey Mitchell came to the podium, she was like, damn, how y'all know we had a meeting today? Oh, thanks to Sophie. She's telling all the beans. Sophie don't give a damn. Sophie is addressing the media like it's the State of the Union. I ain't lying. Sophie is for the people. You want to know why Sophie?
Everyone keeps asking if the tension in the WNBA is real or just a media invention, but we finally got an answer from the most unlikely source. If you thought the players were keeping their feelings bottled up, you clearly haven't been paying attention to Sophie Cunningham. She's been treating her media sessions like a State of the Union address, and she's not pulling any punches. While some vets are playing it cool, Sophie's out here spilling every bit of tea regarding what's really going on behind the scenes with Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. She's a Midwest girl through and through, and coming from the show-me state of Missouri, she's decided it's time to show the world the cracks in the foundation. It's not just about basketball anymore. It's about a cultural shift that some people in the league weren't ready for. Sophie's recent comments about 2-hour secret meetings and defensive styles have sent shockwaves through the fandom, making it clear that what we see on the court is only half the story. But while Sophie is talking, it's what's happening in the locker rooms that should really have fans worried. Social media is usually a place for highlights and brand deals, but lately it's become a battlefield of passive-aggressive hints. Sophie Cunningham took to Instagram recently to share a reflection on a recent game, and it was perhaps the most revealing post of the entire year. On the surface, it looked like a standard gallery of game photos, Sophie looking focused, warming up, and celebrating. But the devil was in the details, specifically in the caption and a very pointed comment from Caitlin Clark herself. Caitlin joked about being cropped out, a comment that felt lighthearted but carried a heavy undertone of being sidelined. This wasn't just a teammate joke, it felt like a public acknowledgement of the Caitlin Clark experience, being the center of the universe while being pushed to the margins of the team's actual chemistry. When you look at the way these posts are structured, it's hard not to feel like there's a divide between the vets who have been there and the rookie who brought the world with her. And if you think that's just a reach, wait until you hear how the players are actually handling the ball when the game is on the line. The most damning evidence of this internal friction happened in the final moments of a recent nail-biter. With only 0.4 seconds left on the clock, the game was hanging by a thread. In those moments, you expect the ball to go to your franchise player, the person who has proven time and again she can hit from the logo. Instead, we saw a play that looked like a total train wreck. Kelsey Mitchell ended up hemmed in, doubled up, and looking lost, while Caitlin Clark was left standing wide open, waving her hands for a pass that never came. The footage is brutal to watch. Kelsey turns around, almost as if she's shocked she has the ball in that position. But the real aha moment came after the game, when Sophie Cunningham basically confirmed our worst fears. She posted that they may have improvised and that the play didn't follow the plan. That's a polite way of saying the system broke down, or worse, that the plan never involved their best shooter in the first place. This wasn't just a missed shot, it was a public display of a team that is seemingly refusing to lean into its biggest asset. When Stephanie White's name comes up in conversation with the Fever, there's a lot of speculation about whether she, or any coach, can handle the Caitlin effect. The rumors are swirling that the leadership might actually resent the amount of attention one single player is bringing to the organization. Think about it. You've spent years building a culture, and suddenly a rookie comes in and the entire
She's like that because she's a Midwest girl. She's from my home state of Missouri. And y'all know this is the show me state. So we going to show you everything you need to see. And that is exactly what Sophie Cunningham has been doing. And I'm telling you right now, Sophie don't give a damn. And then I took a second and I thought about it. Wasn't Sophie Cunningham feeling the type of way about her contract when it all came out? Like, damn, I thought I was going to get a little bit more money. So is Sophie Cunningham getting the last laugh? Because I believe she's getting the last laugh. Oh, Sophie Cunningham is telling it all. And if it's one person that for sure has Caitlin Clark back, oh, it's Sophie Cunningham. Because
world demands you change everything for her. There's a growing sense that the coaching staff and some of the veterans are trying to prove they can win their way without just handing the keys to the Clark mobile. But as the losses pile up and the chemistry remains stagnant, that stubbornness is starting to look like sabotage. You have to wonder if the internal goal is to win games or to keep the rookie humble. It's a shame when ego gets in the way of a winning record. But in a league that's growing this fast, those growing pains are becoming public scandals. And while the coaches struggle to manage the personalities, the veterans are looking at the bottom line. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, the money. When the contract details for this year's rookie class were leaked, it sparked a firestorm. Vets who had been grinding for a decade were suddenly seeing the massive gap between their salaries and the endorsement deals the new kids were pulling in. Sophie Cunningham herself has been vocal about feeling a certain type of way regarding her contract in the past. Is it possible that the last laugh Sophie is having is watching the chaos unfold? There's a certain irony in seeing an organization struggle to manage a superstar when you feel like you weren't compensated enough for your own contributions. Sophie isn't just riding for Caitlin. She's highlighting the absurdity of the entire situation. She's poking fun at the Fever organization because she sees the dysfunction for what it is, a show-me state of affairs where nobody is being shown the respect they think they deserve. This financial jealousy is a quiet poison in locker rooms, and it's manifesting in how the ball is shared, or rather not shared, on the court. To understand why this is such a massive deal, you have to look beyond the box score and toward history. Someone recently made the comparison that Caitlin Clark isn't the next Michael Jordan or Larry Bird. She's the WNBA's Babe Ruth. Back in the 1920s, baseball was a niche sport, struggling for relevancy until the great Bambino started hitting balls out of the park and drawing crowds that the league had never seen. He didn't just play the game, he saved it. That is exactly the burden Caitlin is carrying right now. She didn't just join a team. She brought a global audience to a league that had been ignored by the mainstream for far too long. When you're that big, the people who were there before you are going to feel small. The pressure on her isn't just to win, it's to justify the existence of the new WNBA economy. It's a staggering weight for a rookie to bear, especially when your own teammates might be the ones making the load heavier. But even in the face of all this, some legends are finally speaking up to offer a perspective that the current players seem to be missing. Cynthia Cooper, a literal legend of the game, recently sat down to discuss the Caitlin situation, and her take was a breath of fresh air. She talked about the development stage of a franchise player and reminded everyone that what Caitlin is doing is nearly impossible. She's carrying a franchise and in many ways carrying an entire league on her shoulders. Cooper admitted that she's been in that position, where every move is scrutinized and every reaction is memed. But she had the luxury of doing it without 1,000 cameras in her face. The bittersweet nature of Caitlin's success is that she's elevating the league, while the league's fans and players pick her apart for every emotional outburst or missed defensive assignment. Cooper's call for grace is a direct message to the critics. The cream always rises to the top, but you have to let it settle first. This transition period is...
Cunningham wasted no time today poking fun at the entire Fever organization. Oh, yes, because yesterday when I was on live, and shout out to you guys that tuned into that live, I say, man, is it me? But does it look like this play was designed for Kelsey Mitchell? Because we see Kelsey Mitchell go to the right, get hemmed up, go to the left. Sophie, and nah, I ain't even finna wait for you to get open. Here, Caitlin. And that's exactly what she did. And I'm telling you right now, Sophie Cunningham saved the day. Oh, and everybody's talking about it. So for all of you guys who might not know this, Sophie Cunningham took the
smothering, and the pressure is at an all-time high. But the adjustment is coming. The question is, will her team be there to catch her when she finally clears that hump? As we look toward the future of this season, one thing is certain. The current path is unsustainable. You can't have a franchise player being cropped out of the team's success. And you certainly can't have plays improvised away from your best shooter in the final seconds of a game. Whether it's a coaching change, a roster shakeup, or just a long overdue heart-to-heart in the locker room, something has to give. Sophie Cunningham's tell-all attitude might be exactly what the league needs to force these conversations into the light. The Indiana Fever are at a crossroads. They can either embrace the Babe Ruth of their era and ride this wave to a new level of greatness, or they can let internal jealousy and poor planning sink the ship. The world is watching, and for the first time in history, they aren't just watching the highlights, they're watching the drama. What happens next will define the legacy of this era, and you can bet Sophie Cunningham will be there to tell us all about it. Let me know in the comments, do you think the Fever are intentionally sidelining Caitlin, or is this just a team that doesn't know how to win yet? Stay tuned, because this story is far from over. While much of the focus is on the tactical errors on the court, there's a much darker theory circulating among fans and analysts alike, the gatekeeper effect. For decades, the WNBA was a tight-knit community that survived on grit and a shared sense of struggle, but the sudden arrival of a chosen one like Caitlin has seemingly triggered a defensive reflex among the league's veterans. It's not just about basketball, it's about territory. When you see players like Sophie Cunningham making jokes about cropping people out or hinting at improvised plays, it points to a culture where the established stars aren't ready to hand over the keys to the kingdom just yet. This isn't your standard rookie hazing. It feels more like a coordinated effort to remind the world and Caitlin that the league existed long before her and will exist long after. But this gatekeeping comes at a massive cost. By trying to humble their biggest star, these teams are inadvertently stifling the very growth that is finally bringing them the recognition they've always wanted. It's a paradox of ego that could eventually alienate the millions of new eyes watching every single move. And if you think the fans haven't noticed, the backlash is already reaching a fever pitch. We are rapidly approaching a moment where something has to give, because the business of basketball won't allow this level of dysfunction to continue forever. The Caitlin Clark effect is responsible for record-breaking ticket prices, massive TV ratings, and sold-out arenas. But if the Indiana Fever continue to look like a team divided against itself, that bubble will eventually burst. There are already whispers and speculations about what happens if this season ends in a total collapse. Would the organization actually consider a total house cleaning, from the front office down to the coaching staff, to protect their investment? Or worse, could we see a scenario where the pressure becomes so toxic that trade rumors, once unthinkable for a #1 pick, start to become a reality? The stakes couldn't be higher. It's about whether a league can successfully transition from a niche sport to a global powerhouse. If the Fever can't figure out how to integrate their superstar and find a sense of unity, they risk becoming a cautionary tale of how to waste a once-in-a-generation talent. The clock is ticking, and as the drama moves from the locker room to the headlines, the world is waiting to see who blinks first.